Hello biology students, Dr. Crozier here with another instructional how-to video. This video pertains to using the MyLab and Mastering study area. Now in particular, I'm going to be demonstrating this for my Human Anatomy and Physiology course. Many of the parameters will hold true for other MyLab and Mastering courses used in Canvas, but some of the tools are specific to my Human Anatomy and Physiology course. Go to Canvas, sign in, and select your course from the dashboard. Click on MyLab and Mastering. Now you would have to have a Pearson account to use this. If you have not yet set up a Pearson account, I have a separate tutorial on how to access course materials and create a Pearson account. Once you've clicked MyLab and Mastering, select Open MyLab and Mastering. Some of the tools that appear here on my page are a little bit unique as I have the instructor view. Nevertheless, you can select the study area. You will have to then launch the study area. Once you've launched the study area, you'll see a number of tools that are available to you. You can study the textbook by chapter. If you pick any chapter, there are certain tools that are available to you, whether you have the e-text or not. There are pre-tests and practice tests. These can also sometimes be found in other links on the study area. If you have the e-text, you've purchased a package with the e-text or your course material includes that, you can launch the e-text from here. But you also have, in this instance, chapter quizzes for each section of the chapter. For example, a chapter quiz on chapter 1.1 and a chapter quiz on 1.2 and so on. Not all MyLab and Mastering study areas have this feature, but they do in this particular course. These are short multiple choice questions and they're good just to review after reading a section to make sure you really understood the material of that section. There are also links to extend your knowledge such as key terms and MP3 tutor sessions which will be specific for each chapter. For example, here there's an MP3 tutor session on homeostasis. Returning to the study area, you can directly launch into the e-text from here as well. Simply click e-text and launch the e-text. Again, you would have to have a package that includes access to the e-text. For this course, there is a section called Build Your Knowledge. At the end of each chapter, there is a Build Your Knowledge section which layers on the different organ systems as we learn them through the course. Here is a collection of all that information where you can hover over different regions, pick a system like the nervous system, and look at the nervous system in relation to other systems and how they communicate with each other. Simply by clicking on that, the correlation, the collaboration, the communication between the endocrine system and nervous system will be explained here, and you can do that for each system. Back to the study area. There is another section with practice tests and quizzes. Again, these are the pre-quizzes and chapter quizzes and practice tests that you find when you go to the study by chapter link, but it's another way to access them if you wish to do so. There are a number of animations and videos that are very, very useful, and each of these tabs has a collection of videos within it. For example, A&P Flicks has several videos. Some of these videos are very helpful when it comes to the physiology of different systems. For example, the A&P 3D animations, of which there are 10 videos, are very well done. Here you have videos, for example, on the events of the neuromuscular junction, where a neuron synapses on a muscle. These may take a moment to load as it loads the video, and following the video, a quiz that you can answer questions, multiple choice questions, about the video after you've watched it. And you can see results or restart and take the quiz over if you wish. Again, these are not for points. This is a study area with many tools that you can use at your own convenience. Again, there are many videos on various physiological concepts worth watching. Many of these we'll actually cover and I may even use during my lectures. Some students may find some of the A&P flicks with quizzes very helpful for the lab component of the course. For example, videos on the origins, insertions, actions, and innervations of the muscles and group muscle actions and joints. You also have interactive physiology. This used to be a standalone CD or DVD that would come with the textbook, and there are interactive physiology activities under various topics: chemistry, tissues, skeletal system, muscular system, and so on. We will not use or address all of these issues in the course, but I find some of these to be particularly helpful. Now, for some systems, for example, on the endocrine system, I believe most of these links simply take you to a video, which teaches you about the endocrine system and the particular topic described here. But some of these are highly interactive animations. For example, some of the animations on the cardiovascular system will take you through 10 or 15 or 20 pages of interactive slides where you'll be asked to move items like red blood cells from one chamber to another chamber, move ions across membranes, adjust the electrical input or output, and so on. So it's worth taking the time when we get to the relevant system where we are covering, for example, in Chapter 11 or Chapter 12, the cardiovascular system, you may want to come here and look at some of these to interact with the material to see if it helps you understand it better. The muscular system would correspond to Chapter 7, the skeletal system in Chapter 6, the nervous system in Chapter 8, the endocrine system in Chapter 10, and so on. So many very useful interactive animations and or videos are found here. Practice Anatomy Lab is probably the most important tool for you here as far as a resource in MyLab and Mastering that is relevant for the lab component of our course. When you select Practice Anatomy Lab, you will be asked to launch PAL 3.1. PAL 3.1 provides 5 different tabs for you. The first one is open by default. It's called Human Cadaver. The second one is Anatomical Models. The third is Histology. The fourth is Cat. And the fifth is Pig. Now, we do not do cat dissections or fetal pig dissections, so you do not need to use these during this course. However, the human cadaver dissections or the anatomical models or histology images may be very useful for you during the class. For example, if we picked the axial skeleton and picked a particular part of the axial skeleton, like the skull, you would see that it will open up one of 35 images in a gallery. So there are 35 images in this gallery, and you can actually see the whole gallery by selecting Show Gallery. And if you scroll through that, you'll be able to see all the different images of the skull that are available to you. It also sorts them into files based on which part of the skull, cranial bones, facial bones, and so on. You can click on any of these and see an enlarged image of it. Also, for any image here, you can show labels. You can see there are many labels on this particular structure. If you hover over any of those labels, it will highlight that particular bone for you. You also, with the human cadaver, sometimes have the option to rotate an image. In this case, it will open up a 3D rotation tool. It may take a moment to load, but once it does, you can select the right or left arrows to turn the object and see it from 3 dimensions. So if you want to take time to look at these structures, they're available to you. Again, there are 35 images. You can move through them manually this way, or you can go to the gallery and scroll to the one you want to look at. You can show and or hide the labels. Beside the human cadaver, there are anatomical models. The anatomical models are, just as they sound, models that you would see or handle in the laboratory if you were in person. So we could go, for example, to the models on the muscular system, and we could pick a structure like the upper limb. In this case, there are 10 items in the gallery. Again, you can click on Show Gallery to see all the items that are there, all the anatomical models that are available to you, and they are organized based on their location on that structure: the shoulder, the forearm, the wrist, and hand. When you pick any of these objects, again, they are labeled like you would see in a laboratory setting, and you can click to choose to show labels. When it shows labels, it will highlight all the muscles on that structure, and again, you can hover over to highlight any of those. You can also hide the labels and individually select a muscle to see where it's located. Beyond that, some structures will have a video camera icon beside them because there is a video on the contraction or relaxation or movement of that muscle or something relevant to that particular muscle. For some of the images in the gallery, there are no videos. For others, you may find that most items on the structure have a video or animation corresponding to it. Whether you're in the human cadaver or the anatomical model section, you have the option to take a quiz. Now, the quizzes are multiple choice quizzes, and the software will generate a quiz based on the structure you're looking at. Because you're looking at anatomical models and the muscular system and the upper limb, the quiz will be about the upper limb muscles. You can select your answer. You can turn the highlight on and off. As you can see here, it's highlighting a particular muscle, and you can see that with or without the highlight. Choose your answer and check your answer. There are 20 questions in this quiz. If at any time you leave this quiz and go to another tab, you'll get a warning. That's okay, just continue. You're not being graded on this. It's not required. It's just for your own practice. You also have the option to take a lab practical. Now, the lab practical is more like a practical in that you might have to write or type in your answer and spelling will count. And so here again, you're having questions about the upper limb and the muscular system, and you can turn the highlight on and off if you wish to see the muscle with and without the highlight, and type in your answer. Again, for this one, there happen to be 20 questions. If you leave this lab practical at any time, you'll get a warning. That's okay. You can exit. That is Practice Anatomy Lab 3.1. There are histology, which are microscope slides for all the tissues. You also have Practice Anatomy Lab flashcards. Practice Anatomy Lab flashcards are based on the Practice Anatomy Lab images, the human cadaver, the histology, the anatomical models, but they are, as they sound, flashcards. So again, you choose which of the 5 systems you want to work with. Let's say anatomical models. You submit that. Then you choose the body system you'd like to look at. So again, we could pick, say, the muscular system, upper limb, and submit that. And then we could pick whichever muscles of the upper limb we want to be tested on or we want to review. And so if you knew in your lab manual that you were responsible for these particular muscles, you could select just those muscles that you are responsible for and ignore those that you are not responsible for. When you're done, you could choose to review or take a quiz. If you were to review, it would give you a flashcard with the image. It would highlight a muscle, muscles of the scapula and arm, anterior view, left side. You could flip that, and it would tell you the name of the muscle, the brachialis. And you can move on to the next card or flip back if you want to see it again. If you chose to do it as a quiz, it is similar, but it's asking you which muscle is highlighted. And when you flip, you'd be asked to choose between one of 4. You could click and submit your answer to check. Back to the study area. You have a number of other items here like PhysioX and additional study tools. Feel free to take some time to explore the MyLab and Mastering study area to see what, if any, tools will be helpful for you. Nothing here in the study area is required of you. The only requirement out of MyLab and Mastering for my current course is the MyLab and Mastering quizzes. I'll have a separate video on how to complete a MyLab and Mastering quiz. Otherwise, this is all material that's accessible for you and that you can use insofar as it helps you do better in the course.